Only a bit of a preamble to the book, but I'm going to read part of the first chapter. So my character Julia, when we join her, she's just been to see an art gallery to see an exhibition, and the exhibition is an exhibition of photographs, and the photographs are all kind of taken in that. I don't know if you remember that sort of heroin chic era it was called. Do you remember all the models were very thin and looked like they were unwell, unlike now. And we realise very early on that she's gone to look at one particular photograph, and it's a photograph of a man looking at himself in the mirror. He's looking at his own reflection, and there's a lot of sadness associated with this photograph for Julia. And we learn that she used to be a photographer, and she took this picture, and it's the first time she's really felt able to look at it properly in a number of years. And we join her when she's now downstairs having lunch with her best friend Adrienne, and it's Julia speaking. Have you heard from Kate? I looked down at my drink. I hadn't wanted to ask the question, not so soon, but it's out now. I'm not sure which answer I prefer, yes or no. She sips her wine. Not for a while, have you? About 3 weeks ago. And? I shrug. The usual. Middle of the night? Yep, I sigh. I think back to my sister's last call, 2 a.m, even later for her over there in Paris. She'd sounded out of it, drunk I guessed. She wants Connor back. She doesn't know why I won't let her have him. It isn't fair, and by the way, she isn't the only person who thinks Hugh and I are being selfish and impossible. She was just saying the same old thing. Maybe you need to talk to her, again I mean, when she's not so angry. I smile. You know as well as I do how much good that's likely to do, and anyway I can't get hold of her. She won't answer her mobile, and if I ring the landline I just get her flatmate who tells me nothing. No, she's made her mind up. Suddenly, after all this time, all she wants in the world is to look after Connor, and she thinks Hugh and I are stopping her for our own selfish reasons. She hasn't paused, even for a moment, to wonder how Connor might feel, what he might want. She certainly hasn't asked him. Once again, it's all about her. I stop talking. Adrienne knows the rest. I don't need to carry on. She knows the reasons Hugh and I took my sister's son, that for all these years Kate's been happy with the situation. What neither of us knows is why that's changed. Will you talk to her? I say. She takes a deep breath and closes her eyes. For a moment, I think she's going to tell me that I have to sort it out myself. I can't come running to her every time I argue with my sister. It's the sort of thing my father used to say to me, but she doesn't. She just smiles. I'll try. We order and eat our lunch. We discuss our mutual friends. She asks me if I've seen Fatima recently. Did I know Ali has a new job? She wonders whether I'm planning on going to Dee's drinks party the weekend. Then she says it's time she left. She has a meeting. I tell her I'll catch up with her on Saturday. I can't resist going through the gift shop on the way out. They'd wanted to use my picture of Marcus on the cover of the brochure, but I never replied to the email, and instead there's a picture of an androgynous-looking guy sucking on a lollipop. I didn't reply to the request for interviews either, though that didn't stop one of the magazines, Time Out I think, running a piece about me. I was reclusive, they said, and my picture was one of the highlights of the exhibition, was one of the highlights of the exhibition, an intimate portrait, both touching and fragile. Bullshit, I wanted to reply, but I didn't. If they want reclusive, I'll give it to them. I look again at the lollipop guy. He reminds me of Frosty, and I flick through the book before moving over to the postcards arranged on the display rack. Normally I'd buy a few, but today I just get one, Marcus in the Mirror. That's the name of the picture. For a moment, I want to tell the cashier that it's mine, that I took it for myself, and that though for years I've actively avoided it, I'm still glad they used it in the exhibition, and I've had the chance to own it again. But I don't. I say nothing, just murmur a thanks, and then put the card in my bag and leave the gallery. Despite the February chill, I walk most of the way home, through Covent Garden and Holborn, down Theobald's Road in the direction of Gray's Inn Road. And at first I could think of nothing but Marcus and our time in Berlin all those years ago. But by the time I reach Rosebery Avenue, I've managed to move on from the past, and instead I'm thinking about what's happening here, now. I'm thinking about my sister, and hoping against hope that Adrienne can make her see sense, even though I know she won't be able to. I'm going to have to talk to Kate myself. I'll be firm but kind. I'll remind her I love her and want her to be happy. But I'll also tell her that Connor is almost 14 now, that Hugh and I have worked hard to give him a stable life, and it's important it isn't upset. My priority has to be to make her realise that things are best left as they are. For the first time, I allow myself to consider that Hugh and I probably ought to see a lawyer. I turn the corner into our road. There's a police car not parked a few doors from the house, but it's our front door that's open. I begin to run. My mind empties of everything but the need to see my son. I don't stop until I'm in the house, in the kitchen, and I see Hugh standing in front of me talking to a woman in uniform. I take in Connor's towel and trunks, drying on the radiator. Then Hugh and the officer turn to look at me. She's wearing an expression of perfect, studied neutrality, and I know it's the way Hugh looks when he's delivering bad news. My chest tightens. I hear myself shout as if in a dream, "Where's Connor?" I'm saying, "Hugh, where's our son?" But he doesn't answer. He's all I can see in the room. His eyes are wide. I can tell that something terrible has happened, something indescribable. "Tell me," I want to shout, but I don't. I can't move. My lips won't form words. My mouth opens, then closes. I swallow. I'm underwater. I can't breathe. I watch as Hugh steps towards me and try to shake him off when he takes my arm, and then find my voice. "Tell me," I say over and over, and a moment later he opens his mouth and speaks. "It's not Connor," he says, but there's barely enough time for the relief that floods my blood to register before he says, "I'm sorry, darling, it's Kate."